Okay, so one of the other things we thought we'd do with this little video channel is perhaps do a few readings from the book. When I was writing the Subversion anthology, one of the things that gave me the most joy was the different voices and perspectives and POVs, narrative devices, styles of writing, even tenses that I was playing with as a writer. Writing film, in some ways, is quite limiting. You write in a very particular style, and yes, you're writing dialogue in different voices, but generally you're a lot more limited in the styles that you can play with. This book allowed me to really break out of that. Most of the stories in the book I can read out loud as a person. Two of them I definitely can't. I definitely can't read two of these stories because I can't do the accent, or at least I can't do it if I don't want to be accused of a hate crime or a war crime, or at least a crime against performance. I can type those voices. I can hear those voices in my head when I read the words, but I can't physically frame them in my mouth. Most of them I can do a passable job on. The story that I thought I'd start with is probably the story that's closest to my voice, or certainly most of it is. It's closest to me. Unsurprisingly, it's about a film writer writing an action movie that finishes its production in Johannesburg, South Africa. And he's a bit snarky and he's a bit sarcastic and he's a bit full of himself. So you can understand that I can probably, hopefully, give this one at least a go at reading it. So this is Consultation, not Collaboration. Of course I know they didn't have stirrups. Do you think I'm stupid? Red cocked head and hip and considered me with a look that suggested she didn't think I was stupid. Oh no, she didn't think that at all. Red barely threatened 5 foot, but she sure had a heaped big helping of big hobbit energy. And I'm not talking second breakfast hobbits. I'm talking scouring of the Shire's hobbits. But I'm fucked if I'm going to be intimidated by a hobbit, even if that clearly furious hobbit has just a hint of an Israeli accent. I'm made of way sterner stuff, so as I laughed, I only took one step back. Okay, fine, compared to you, I'm pretty stupid, but I'm not that stupid. I know the Macedonians didn't have stirrups, but do you want to tell the stunties they have to ride without them? Red mistook rhetorical for actual and turned towards the stunt team, who were busy resetting for another angle on the fated, and in the case of our protagonist, somewhat fatal charge. Or maybe she didn't mistake me at all. Like I say, Red is wicked smart. She has more letters after her name than there are letters, as well as credentials at a dozen universities and way more than a dozen critically acclaimed books. Books in which her jacket photo significantly undersells her looks while somewhat overselling her height. I don't even have a high school diploma. This is not a fair fight at all. But the contract says I have to at least let her try. When the studio decided we needed a consultant to add credibility to this romp through some of history's bloodier days, they didn't hire second best. Obviously, that still didn't mean I actually had to do anything she said. I knew this for a fact. I checked the small print in her contract. Twice. Armed with the shield of legal justice, I stepped back into range while manfully fighting my instinctive sarcasm. Look, I know it's a fudge, but on this gig it's barely even "you're telling me." Apparently the dispatch about sarcasm ceasefire hadn't reached Red's side of the battle lines. Since I'm a little over 6'2", I found it quite easy to be the bigger man. I smiled down from the lofty perch of my contractual invulnerability. Red, she scowled. Apparently pet names are not welcome during border skirmishes. Truth is, it's just cooler with stirrups. The lance work, the hits, the whole charge, it all looks more like a charge if they have stirrups. Yes, it looks more like a charge charged from 1,000 years later. I know, and you're going to do it anyway, not so. That Israeli accent really started to punch when Red was pissed. Just then, she sounded like a tank commander I once saw on YouTube. The dude who killed 20 tanks on the Golan Heights, all on his own. I may be misremembering it, but I'm not 100% he even had a tank. Google tells me his name was Vika, and just then, Red sounded like Big Mama Zvika. Angry Mama Zvika. What can I tell you? This just isn't one of those things we need to worry about. Again with the cocked head, this time more mongoose than hobbit. I never felt more like a snake who suddenly remembered it needed to be somewhere else fast. Look, Red, tell me something, scribe. Apparently, the ceasefire on pet names was also crumbling. When was the last time on this film? That said like a very Israeli swear word. When was the last time there was something we did need to worry about? I paused right then. I almost felt bad, just like a real person might. I'm a writer. I know what it is to feel powerless in the face of idiots with all the juice and none of the IQ. I figured maybe it was time to call an actual honest Zeus truce. Maybe we could meet up in no man's land, trade chocolates and fags and pictures of our book jackets. Well, we did agree to, but Red was already gone. I guess that meant no to the no man's land football match, eh? Shame, I figured I could beat an Israeli hobbit at football. Well, best of 3, probably. By now, Red was 20 feet away, down on her haunches, looking at something in the dust. She does that. She gets distracted. And I wasn't going to look a gift distraction in the mouth, especially when my last available finishing move is to throw a big contractual nuh-uh and run away. I limped over to find out what had saved me from having to deliver that piss-poor coup de grace. A purple and white flower topped what looked like some kind of succulent. The people here call it the Persian carpet. In Somalia and Ethiopia, they eat it. From historically sketchy stirrups and cinematically pleasing lance charges to local flora and dietary advice, I guess academics pick up useless information like immortal soldiers pick up scars. Red looked around as if seeing this place with new eyes. Often, it grows on battlefields. Like poppies. Prof. Wiki the Red nodded. Isn't it beautiful? Sure, I guess. What can I say? I'm not a wake up and smell the Persian carpet kind of guy. Okay, folks, let's get back to one. As the assistant director called the dogs back to war, I was unsure if our current battle was over. We should... I nodded at Video Village, already pulling my headphones back on. Red took a last look at that solitary flower in the middle of the dusty fake battlefield. So beautiful. She pulled on her own headphones. Her contract didn't stipulate those, but I tried to be magnanimous in victory. Red followed me back to the easy up filled with multiple monitors from which she was sure to get half a dozen perfectly framed, high-definition angles on those historically problematic stirrups. The next take was the money and we moved on. After that last charge, I couldn't help but notice there was no sign of the purple carpet flower. Even fake battles can be hell on the local flora. That was Consultation, not Collaboration. I hope you enjoyed it. See you next time.